Hello everybody and welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. You already know who I am. I've tried to record this twice now, so I'm getting the but I am looking forward to it. What I will say before I start is make sure you smash a like, make sure you subscribe to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. Your support over the past month or so has been incredible. The channel's going from strength to strength. I've got new equipment on the way, I've got new ideas on the way. So it's going to keep building and building and getting bigger. So thank you so much for that. But of course, there is a massive game on Saturday morning. And obviously, we're all on that high from that comeback against Spurs. But we are playing Manchester City, who are a very strong and competent side. And listen, maybe a couple of months ago, I would have said this would have been a fixture that West Ham would have definitely struggled in. Historically, West Ham do struggle in. But particularly over these past few weeks, I think West Ham's system's shown a new strength to us. We're competitive in most games that we're in now, and we're picking up results. Manchester City, on the other hand, have had a number of injuries. They're struggling to get into their rhythm. I know they got a 3-1 win over Porto and they beat Arsenal. So they are a bit better in terms of their confidence, but there are injuries. There are holes that West Ham can exploit. So, of course, I will talk about them today. But let's get into it. Let's get into the starting lineups, particularly for West Ham United. Obviously, Moyes doesn't change a successful side. So, in goal, LUKASZ Fabianski. I can't really remember too much after that 16th minute where he was really tested, to be honest. We haven't really seen Fabianski put under a lot of pressure this season. Obviously, that goes towards the three at the back and the two wing-backs sort of tucking in and the 5-4-1 that West Ham have in defence. So, yeah, you know, I mean, he's not really been tested. I expect him to be tested in this game. I expect the back three to be stretched a little bit more than against Tottenham. And I'd expect West Ham to not have such a high press against Manchester City because that is where they're going to thrive. Particularly in trying to get balls in behind and the likes of Foden playing in that 10 role that can play a ball to Sterling or Mahrez. So, you know, Fabianski, for me, obviously is our starter. And you would back him to pull off a great save if he is called upon. On the left wing-back position, of course, it's Arthur MASUAKU. I've been super impressed with this guy. He's fantastic in terms of his delivery. I believe we'll see this against Manchester City a little bit more, and I would look for West Ham to exploit the wings as a potential option with their wing-backs that tend to push on a little bit higher than Spurs did. Listen, Arthur's shown that he's quite competent and he's capable in going forward. Defensively, he provides a little bit of solidity with Aaron Cresswell. Obviously, Aaron Cresswell isn't a natural centre-back, but obviously Arthur tucks in. He has proven to support him a lot. And against Manchester City, particularly with their fullbacks bombing on, and particularly with the likes of Mahrez, it is important that Arthur stays switched on and he does support Cresswell, and that the two aren't pulled out of position too much. Now, of course, therefore, on that left-hand side, listen, Aaron Cresswell, for me, yes, he got beaten in the air for the Harry Kane goal, but when you actually look at his recent stats, particularly, I believe it's 3 assists in 2 games, he's proven to be a little bit of a creative spark. I don't like him pushing forward as much as he does in some games. I do believe that would leave spaces for Manchester City to exploit. And I don't believe Tottenham really exploited that in that second half when they decided to sit deeper. But he has shown he's competent in that position. He's growing to that position. Obviously, as a left footer in a centre-back position, it's natural for him to give the ball to Arthur MASUAKU and to distribute to the midfield. So he has done well so far, and I expect him to start against Manchester City. In the middle is going to be Angelo Ogbonna, a leader. He's fantastic. Of course, you remember when he cut across Harry Winks to prevent him to get towards Manuel Lanzini. And that's the type of leadership that West Ham needed, particularly in this game. You know, I think Ogbonna, both Ogbonna and Balbuena are aggressive defenders and they like to get to the ball. In this game, they're going to have to be a little bit more disciplined. You know, you could see Aguero maybe pull into a 10 role, maybe Phil Foden's there, or particularly on the half turn. If West Ham tend to get dragged into that and push up against them, they will find space in behind. So I expect Angelo and Balbuena, when I speak about him in a second, to be disciplined and put a low block on and prevent Manchester City trying to get in behind, because that is where they're going to thrive. Fabian Balbuena, listen, he had a very dodgy 16 minutes, as most of the West Ham team did. You know, Heung-min-Son caused him all kinds of problems with his pace. I think that highlights to me that the issue when West Ham do press forward and do have that back three is they can be exploited for pace. I don't expect it to be the same tactic against Manchester City. I do like that Fabian Balbuena. I think he has done well recently. He's great in the air. It isn't going to be that type of game against City. They are going to look to play in intricate play in behind and work with each other. And so it is up to Fabian to be fully concentrated. And I do back him in a back three as well. I think he looks a little bit more comfortable there alongside Angelo and Aaron Cresswell. Now, Vladimir Coufal. Listen, I was really impressed with him against Tottenham. I know we were poor for those 16 minutes. We did concede 3 goals, but I like him going forward. I think he's got a little bit better quality than Fredericks going forward. I think he's a bit better defensively than Fredericks. He is an improvement on that position. Particularly for Slavia Prague, when I watch them play in terms of their highlights, he does love to get forward. He is going to provide an outlet for West Ham. And you would look at Soufal and you look at Arthur MASUAKU to get forward in the spaces that are left by the likes of Cancelo and Kyle Walker. And they're going to have to be brave in this game. And as it says in the title, they're going to have to move into the spaces to create chances. And West Ham have shown that against Wolves. We've shown that against Leicester. And we've obviously shown that against Tottenham, even when we're 3-0 down. So a big game for him, and I expect him to be prominent in terms of chance creation. These two, needless to say, are the two most important players in the side for me. You've got Declan Rice's ability to transition from defence to attack is improving. His passing accuracy has massively improved over the past season. And he's becoming more of a box-to-box midfielder. I expect this game to not be the game for Declan Rice to drive into midfield and to take on players. And the reason for that is Manchester City are obviously going to play Rodri, but they're going to have a three-man midfield. So in theory, West Ham will be outgunned in that area. Very, very similar to Spurs when they started having Harry Kane drop into the 10 role and then pushing the likes of Ndombele up. It does prove slightly difficult against teams that have more numbers in that position. So I expect Declan to sit a little bit deeper. But we all know as West Ham fans, when he sits in front of that back four, he is superb and he does have the discipline to do so. And in fact, I would be looking, if West Ham can break on the counter, for this man to be using his late runs into the box, his aerial presence. When I've watched Manchester City, particularly in the last few games, they really struggle from deliveries and their defensive organisation from deliveries is incredibly poor. Soucek and his timing of his runs into the box, his ability to get on the second balls and his ability to win the headers is going to prove as a fourth attacker for West Ham, working with that front three and ultimately creating chances and hopefully scoring chances. So yes, Soucek is going to have to be disciplined for this game. We don't see a lot of it in terms of his role at West Ham. But listen, his work rate and his discipline that he has shown last season is going to prove crucial. So a little bit more of a discipline role for Soucek for me against Manchester City is what I would expect. But do expect him, of course, to make those runs into the box and create chances for West Ham, particularly if Manchester City leaves spaces in behind. Now, this next area is one for contention. Obviously, we have options here now in Said Benrahma. He has trained this week. He would potentially be fit. There are no injury doubts over him. Apparently, according to X, we do have a fully fit squad. But Pablo will start, in my opinion. And the reason why he will is because of the work rate. I look at that right-hand side and I look at Cancelo's tendency to get forward a lot. And he almost plays like another winger alongside Mahrez. In the instance that he does so, and I expect him to do so, there will be space for Pablo Fornals. And Pablo Fornals doesn't have that natural pace to get behind plays. He isn't that natural left winger. But if he does have space, and as we saw against Leicester, where he's able to drift centrally, he can pick a pass. And him picking a pass in this situation, particularly if West Ham are on the counter, is going to be crucial. I'm not convinced West Ham are going to create too many chances in this game. But if we are going to create them, they're going to come from Pablo Fornals, and they're going to come from the quality of the final pass. And listen, he missed the sitter against Tottenham. He does tend to have that in his locker. He has scored a great goal against Leicester. But there is no denying this guy's final pass. It is normally absolutely spot on. So I expect him to play there. But likewise, if Said Benrahma comes on around 60 minutes, probably 70 minutes, I expect him to have a little bit of space vacated by Cancelo. And again, you give someone like Said Benrahma a little bit of space for him to come inside and link up with either JARROD, BOWEN or MICHAIL Antonio. He's going to create chances as well. So West Ham, from that aspect, have got creating, quality. And I expect West Ham to show it a little bit in this game and be brave and push up. He's going to have Arthur there as a bit of sort of defensive solidity behind him. So, yeah, I mean, look, I expect him to get on the ball. I expect him to create. And I expect him to exploit Manchester City's poor defensive organisation, if I'm perfectly honest. Down the middle has got to be MICHAIL Antonio. For me, I would be looking at using his physical presence in this game. You know, from what I understand, you could be looking at maybe a Kyle Walker and Ruben Diaz centre-back pairing. They aren't, I mean, particularly Kyle Walker isn't the best positionally from crosses. MICHAIL Antonio playing a little bit more central this season, and that's why he's got the bulk of his goals. And we've seen the variety of his play. He can move into the channels, he can stretch defences, which will be really crucial against a four-man defence from Manchester City. Equally, he can come short and hold up the ball. I'll be looking at him to get in behind. Very, very similar to Vardy's role against Manchester City, using his pace to stretch those defenders. And I think West Ham, particularly when JARROD BOWEN comes a little bit central and Fornals comes a bit central, he'll be able to create space for both of them. And fingers crossed, create chances for them in which to score. But listen, he's a pivotal man for us. And I expect him to cause Manchester City all kinds of issues. And then on the right-hand side, of course, it's Jarrod Bowen. And again, this is another area for West Ham to exploit, in my opinion. If Nathan Ake plays at left back, you know, he isn't a natural left back. He's not the quickest player. And you'd be looking at someone like Jarrod to really either go direct and maybe try and get past him and overlap him, maybe come central, and make it really, really difficult for Ake whether to stand off him or whether to push him. And listen, I think if Manchester City in this instance are too aggressive, if they try and get at someone like Jarrod Bowen, he will find the likes of Michail Antonio in behind. So I expect him to use his pace against Ake and create more chances, particularly for Fornals and Michail Antonio. But he could come central as well, and I think that's what he offers. And in particular, his link up with the two other forward men is going to be crucial, and we're going to see it in this game. And I do believe he's going to have a number of chances in which to create for the Hammers. So that was the West Ham starting 11. I'm not going to lie, it was probably one of the easiest to pick this week. But let's get into the Manchester City starting 11. They've had a number of injuries, but of course this guy's going to start in goal. Phenomenal goalkeeper, if I'm perfectly honest. Fantastic shot stopper, unreal distribution. Ederson has single-handedly kept them in games this season, namely the one against Leeds, where I think he clawed away one of Rodrigo's headers. Unbelievable keeper. It was fantastic as well in midweek. We've got to get past this man. And the way you get past this man is to put pressure in the box, to make it difficult for him. And West Ham are notoriously fantastic, particularly from set pieces and particularly from deliveries, maybe the likes of, Arthur MASUAKU or Aaron CRESSWELL, to put pressure and make it difficult in that box for him. But he's going to be a tough test. He really, really is. He's a fantastic goalkeeper, and I expect him to be at top form. As mentioned, this is my prediction. You never know with Pep Guardiola, as we all know, with his rotation tactics, but injuries will force him into a slight change. I've got Nathan Ake at left back. Obviously, he's left-footed. His pace could be an issue. I don't think he's going to get forward as much as Cancelo. He's got that natural tendency as a centre-back, maybe to sit a little bit more. It could encourage Jarrod Bowen to come a little bit more central. I think West Ham don't have that 10 for a Bowen to link up with. So maybe it might be difficult to create something for it. But if I was Jarrod Bowen, you'd be looking to take him on down that wing and use his pace to get in behind and create deliveries. And Bowen's got a fantastic delivery. He's played a little bit more in a striker role at West Ham, particularly on the counters. But obviously, he's got that winger aspect to him. So I'd expect him to test Ake. I really, really would. And he's got fantastic work rate as well. I imagine that he will support Vladimir Soufal on that side. So we shall see. It is a weak area in my opinion, but Ake is good defensively. He is very good aerially as well. So it would be a bit of a mismatch to try and go up against him like that, but definitely use the pace and make it hard for the bloke. I've gone for Kyle Walker as a centre-back, and the reason why I say this is Laporte's out. Obviously, Otamendi's left, and I believe he's gone to the Portuguese league. Kyle Walker has played a number of times at centre-back. What I will say about Kyle Walker is his recovery pace is absolutely unbelievable. We know he's got pace on him. He's positionally not the best. Aerially, both the centre-backs aren't the best. I know Diaz, I haven't seen too much of him, but Kyle Walker can be beaten in the air quite a bit. You'd be looking at Michail Antonio, SOUCEK to put the pressure on them. You'd even look from the set pieces and the likes of Angelo, OGBONNA, Declan Rice as well, to make it really difficult for Manchester City to defend. It's going to be difficult for Antonio to drag this guy out of position purely because of the pace, but he has got the physicality. I mean, I do believe, particularly from deliveries, we can make it hard for Kyle Walker. Ruben Diaz, from what I've seen of him, has been impressive. His distribution for me is fantastic. I think Laporte is more likely to be the stronger of the centre-backs, but certainly Diaz is going to be the guy to look to midfield, look to play to Rodri or possibly Cancelo, as we've seen previously. But he's only 5'11", and they are short centre-backs, and this team isn't at the back the biggest. And I hate to use that because that isn't the right analysis, but certainly it means that they are potentially weak from set pieces and delivery. And West Ham need to exploit that. And that's why I say, Thomas Soucek's ability to make the late runs into the box as a fourth attacker will make it difficult for Manchester City. And that's what you've got to be looking to do throughout the game. Cancelo, I've been really impressed with. I think he's versatile. I think he plays on both, either left or right. He's fantastic at dribbling. He is going to offer another element to Manchester City's attack, and he will play in a much more advanced position than I expect Ake to. He's going to link up with Riyad Mahrez. It allows Mahrez to play as an inverted winger. Both Sterling and both Mahrez tend to come in quite central, and that's why you tend to have an overload just in front of that defence. But I think West Ham systematically are set up to deal with that a little bit better. But this guy's going to get in. He's going to try and get in behind. You'll be looking at Arthur MASUAKU to press up on him, to prevent him from getting forward. And then it makes it difficult for Riyad Mahrez. He's going to have to come central. And if he does come central, then obviously West Ham do have the numbers. So cancelling this man out, trying to nullify his threat is important to preventing Manchester City in terms of an attacking sense and in terms of that front three that we're going to see from them. Now, into the midfield, you've got Rodri as their pivot. Guardiola has played around the idea of having a double pivot. Fernandinho's now out, so it is going to be Rodri. As you know, and this is just my opinion, Rodri has a dirty streak in him. He does like to commit fouls. He does like to break up the play. I don't think you're going to see a lot from West Ham centrally in this game, if I'm perfectly honest. They do have more men in midfield. He's going to sit just in front of that back four. He really is just kind of a foil for the back two to make it difficult. But West Ham will probably look to use the width here, look to take them on around the sides, particularly with, you know, the fullbacks out of position. So you won't see too much of the play go through Rodri. I imagine he'll try and close down a Tomas SOUCEK if he makes a late run into the box. So it will be an interesting battle to see. But respect the game for Manchester City, and very, very similar to the defensive midfielders that Guardiola has had previously. Philipp Lahm, obviously, he's had Sergio Busquets, players that won't really are natural defensive midfielders. Very much try to just keep the tempo and particularly keep hold of possession under pressure. But it will be a different game for West Ham, so it won't be the typical role for Rodri, in my opinion. Gundogan's got a fantastic free kick midweek. I really, really like him. Again, he's not the most athletic midfielder, but I expect him to play in almost a bit of an 8 role for Manchester City, carry the ball and try and move it towards Foden, and particularly Mahrez and Raheem Sterling. He's got great passing. Again, very functional, and that's the trait of Guardiola's midfielders. They're functional. They look to keep the ball and they look to carry the ball and keep possession for as long as possible. And West Ham aren't going to press in this area. So Manchester City could have a lot of the ball at times, and I expect them to relinquish a lot of possession in order for them to have it. It's really how West Ham approach the low block and preventing it getting into their number 10. And obviously the number 10 for them is Phil Foden. Now, against Arsenal, he played slightly more on the left, and he cuts in, obviously, because he is naturally a central player. He's fantastic at dribbling. And in terms of, you know, I know he's very, very young, but one of the best I've seen in terms of taking it on the half turn and turning. Now, listen, West Ham are going to play at times with a double pivot. It's going to make it difficult for Phil Foden to find space. And notoriously, Manchester City struggle against teams that play double pivots and sit quite deep. And it's going to be hard for Foden to operate in that position. Now, the difference is how West Ham approach this game. If West Ham put the high press that they did against Leicester and they did against Tottenham, having someone like Phil Foden in that side is going to be really problematic. His ability to take it on the half turn, particularly transition from defence to attack, moving into space and working with the forward men, he's going to create chances for Manchester City. So I think if West Ham can nullify the likes of Phil Foden, particularly in front of that back four with either Declan Rice or Tomas SOUCEK, you're taking away a lot of their chance creation. And typically you've seen Manchester City struggle with that Kevin De Bruyne because he plays in that role. So I mean, it is a crucial area, that centre attacking midfield role. I expect West Ham to be a little bit more cautious and try and nullify it. Then onto the forward men. You've got Raheem Sterling. He's a phenomenal football player, if I'm perfectly honest. Comes off that left, cuts in on his right. His finishing and his composure in front of goal has massively improved over the past seasons. He looks to give and go with that central player. Against Arsenal, Aguero played a little bit more of a 10 role, and it was particularly Raheem Sterling and Mahrez that tried to play as bombing strikers and try and get him behind. He will play that same role against West Ham. And I think it's up to West Ham to use the wing back and particularly that right centre back in Balbuena and SOUCEK to nullify him. It is difficult. The difference between the left hand side and the right hand side is I expect Nathan Ake to not push up particularly as much as Cancelo. So you could see someone like Raheem Sterling being a little bit isolated and outnumbered on that wing. Again, I think West Ham functionally can nullify his threat. The issue you've obviously got with Manchester City is their chance creation, and it's looking at the likes of Phil Foden that will look to throw it up with Raheem Sterling that ultimately creates the chances for him to score. So I think if West Ham put a low block on, you know, stifle that number 10 role, Raheem Sterling may struggle. And I know I say that vaguely optimistic, but he could struggle against West Ham purely just because of the system. On the right hand side, Mahrez, very similar. He'll come in and he'll try and cut on his left and get a strike away. Very similar to Sterling. They can come in as an inverted winger. They can do the give and go to Foden and try and get him behind. It will be tough for both of them if they're playing centrally and you've got that back three and you've got the wing backs, you know, sitting in as well. When West Ham transition to 5-4-1 defensively, it is hard for teams to break us down, and typically Manchester City really struggle against it. So it is going to be tough for Mahrez. The difference is you've obviously got Cancelo as that overlapping outlet. You'd be looking at Arthur Masuaku to nullify him if he can. You nullify their threat a little bit more. My concern is obviously with Aaron Cresswell, and it is with Balbuena in fairness, that if they do get isolated against either Raheem Sterling or Mahrez, they could be pulled out of position, and Manchester City will find spaces in behind. And when you get to that stage, sometimes Manchester City puts such a press on, such a an attacking onslaught that it becomes difficult to defend against that, possibly for 90 minutes. So this is why I say West Ham need to be brave when they take their chances and push on and really back themselves to defend from the front. Sergio Aguero, now they've got a little bit more poignancy in their attack now. Aguero is obviously a fantastic Premier League striker, a really accomplished finisher. He has played in that sort of centre forward role a little bit more against Arsenal. I expect him with a back four to play in a more central striker role. The thing is with Aguero, and particularly within the Guardiola systems, the strikers always have chances to score. You know, Manchester City's chance creation with their attacking players, with their system, is inevitably high. And you can't give too many chances to Sergio Aguero to get a shot off. Now, if West Ham can prevent this sort of attacking players from creating chances for Sergio Aguero, he will struggle. But that doesn't mean that necessarily that he won't either score or he won't get a shot off, because this man, his movement, his ability to get in behind and find space will obviously help him out. The difference here is maybe you're looking at Manchester City are going to try and obviously play on the floor and get in behind like that. There won't be an aerial duel. So it is up for West Ham to be disciplined, to cut the space, and particularly to push up on Manchester City from those wing-back areas and prevent them moving into that final third, because Sergio Aguero will inevitably have the chance to score. So in terms of my thoughts for this game, West Ham have got to be brave. And like I said, there is a low block there. For me, that's the best way to beat Manchester City, is the low block. They've shown historically that they can't quite overcome it, particularly when teams sit really deep and attack with pace. I look at the Leicester game, particularly when they play the 3-5-2 and their wing-backs that push on, they're able to create width and they're able to move that Manchester City back four that does struggle. And, you know, even positioning against Porto, I believe there was one player that come off the left-hand side, began to move central, and the whole back four moved with him. There's no support really from Rodri there to pick up the man. They really do struggle. And West Ham's mobility, particularly with that front three, is very good. If you add the likes of Arthur Masuaku and SOUCEK pushing forward, it's going to stretch that. It's going to stretch those back two. They're going to create chances. And I would back the movement of the likes of JARROD, BOWEN and MICHAIL Antonio to maybe get on the end of a cross and use their aerial ability as well with MICHAIL Antonio, of course, because Manchester City typically struggle there. I think the difference is, and West Ham have shown this season, and this is the key difference in the sort of development of David Moyes' players, that he's not playing as defensive as we've seen previously and using the long ball as an outlet. When West Ham transition to attack, we transition very quickly, and we transition with numbers. Even at the detriment of conceding goals against Spurs, we still do it because you're creating so many chances for West Ham to score. And we do tend to take them. We are very clinical. And I think particularly in those wing-back positions, you've got Ake, who isn't a natural left-back. You've got Cancelo that loves to bomb on. There will be space in behind. You'll either be able to utilise your space and overload with SOUCEK and JARROD, BOWEN on the right-hand side. The left-hand side may be vacated. You're looking to use Arthur Masuaku to nullify him, get the ball to Pablo Fornals with a bit of space and begin to create chances. I think defensively, Manchester City have shown that they are poor, and they do really struggle when they're put under a lot of pressure. So that is the way that West Ham can beat them. Obviously, set pieces is another aspect to that. From deliveries, they're very poor. The defensive organisation isn't there. Obviously, they use zonal marking, so they're not going to stick with the runners as much. You've got SOUCEK, who's unpredictable as a late runner. But again, this is what I mean. You can frustrate Manchester City, and we've only really ever seen West Ham play a back four against Manchester City, and we've always struggled because they've used their width, particularly from their fullbacks, to bomb on, get in behind, and cause us all kind of issues, and use their attacking players and then move into the box and take those chances. We've never used a back five, and West Ham play with a back five. We can match up with them defensively. The question is, how quickly can West Ham transition from defence to attack? if we're brave and we get numbers forward, we will create chances. We can potentially score goals against Manchester City. This isn't as tough a game as we may be led to believe. A massive part of that is not having Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne for Manchester City is absolute world-class player, a consistent player that creates numerous chances, that can find passes from angles that nobody can see. Even with a resolute back five, it could be difficult for West Ham to nullify it. And I'm not saying Foden's a bad player. Of course, he's fantastic. Maybe a little bit more mobile than Kevin De Bruyne that will look to take it on the half turn, and that could lure some of those centre-backs out of position. But Kevin De Bruyne is a specialist from set pieces. He's a specialist from that 10 role. He's very athletic. He is almost that perfect player. So, I mean, not having him in the squad, I know he's training, it boosts our chances massively. In terms of a score prediction, I am going to go for 1-0. I kind of feel like Manchester City naturally would have the edge with some of their attacking players, but if anyone's watching this season, there's not a lot of cutting edge. And I just think West Ham can score the goals, and I think we can be resolute to keep a lead. And I do think we can get a draw from this game, and I would be looking at West Ham to maintain that system, maintain that positivity, and in particular maintain that level of chance creation that we've seen has been so impressive. But that is my preview. I'll be there tomorrow, probably around 12 o'clock for the watch along. Charles is back on, obviously, after our antics last week. It's only right to get the fella back on. Be previewing the game then, previewing the lineups, and I'll be massively looking forward to it. So listen, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe to the West Ham YouTube channel. Fingers crossed we get a result tomorrow, and until next time, take care.